Amateur Radio News and Notes for Friday, October 17th, 2025. I'm Ed Kabik, November 2, Echo Charlie. In the log this week, we'll be talking about the PJ6Y Youth DXpedition to Saba Island, which is currently underway. We'll also do an event spotlight for the DX Marathon Sprint happening soon, as well as give you another reminder about the ARRL request that you contact your representatives about the Amateur Radio Emergency Preparedness Act. Also, we'll talk about some MVARC Nets on the air, see what's happening with DX, get a solar activity update, talk about some upcoming contests, and of course, talk about some interesting online radio content. As we go to press, the PJ6Y Saba Island DXpedition should now be underway. The PJ6Y DXpedition will be activating the island of Saba, which is IOTA NA-145, with a team of 14 young operators from around the world, with 9 of those ops being first-time DXpeditioners. Additionally, there will be 20 to 30 young amateurs who will participate remotely using Next-Gen 2 RIBs, or radios in boxes, made possible by a Northern California DX Foundation grant. The DXpedition is set to run from October 15th until October 29th, 2025, and Saba Island is in the Caribbean. It is the smallest special municipality of the Netherlands. The dormant volcano Mount Scenery dominates the landscape there with a height of 2,854 feet or 870 meters. The island's population was 2,158 in January of 2025, and it has the smallest territory by permanent population in the Americas. Look for them on the bands and check out their website for more information at pj6y2025.com. This weekend marks the start of the 2025 CQ DX Marathon Sprint. The sprint aims to promote DXing activity with new and existing entrants of the CQ DX Marathon, which is a year-long annual event. The sprint itself is a 10-day event, which follows the majority of the same rules, just for a shorter time. All contacts on all bands that are direct, so not using repeaters, satellites, or the internet, count when operated from a single location. Participants submit logs to the DX Marathon site, and a point is awarded for each new country or entity, as well as a point for each new CQ zone worked. Contacts for the sprint also count for the marathon itself. For more information on rules and how to participate, visit dxmarathon.com/rules/2025sprint. Good luck. And now, another reminder that the American Radio Relay League is asking for American amateur radio operators to contact their representatives and senators in support of the Amateur Radio Emergency Preparedness Act. That legislation seeks to give amateur radio operators rights equal to those users of antennas for broadcast television, wireless internet, and flagpoles. The bills, H.R. 1094 in the House of Representatives and S.249 in the Senate, seek to prevent overly restricted homeowners association or HOA regulations that prohibit the installation of antennas even when placed inconspicuously. The ARRL asks that all amateur radio operators go to send-a-letter.org/HOA, which will allow for a letter to be sent on your behalf to your representative and senators. I did this pretty easy. It just takes a couple of minutes, and it's definitely something you want to do. Even if you don't have these restrictions, a lot of people do, and this is a way for them to be able to be more active in the hobby and get a lot more enjoyment and also help their communities. So definitely do that if you can. Just takes a few seconds. More information can be found at links in the show notes. And now let's talk about some MVARC Nets on the air. We got our 2-meter FM net on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. on the repeater, which is immediately followed by our 2-meter digital net on Yaesu System Fusion, so C4 FM. And then on the weekends, we've got the MVARC Slow Speed CW Roundtable on Saturday and Sunday at 7:30 a.m. Eastern Time on 3.565 megahertz CW. And also the MVARC Cherry Tree Net on Saturday and Sunday at 8:30 a.m. on 3.920 megahertz lower sideband, where we always have a lively conversation, and you are always welcome to join us. And now let's find out what's happening with DX. There will be a good amount of DX on the bands this week, including Vanuatu, Manahiki Atoll in Northern Cook Islands, Niue, Greenland, Montserrat, Gambia, Lakswadweep Islands, St. Bartholomew, Aruba, St. Vincent, British Virgin Islands, San Andreas, Canary Islands, Angola, Rodriguez Island, Saba Island, Walvis and Futuna Islands, Bonaire, Tanzania, Guatemala, Madagascar, Burkina Faso, Marcus Island, Miname Torishima Islands, Colombia, Mali, Kuwait, Solomon Islands, and Antarctica. A calendar of DXpeditions can be found at dxnews.com/calendar. And now it's time for a solar activity update. As we go to press, the Solar Flux Index, or SFI, was 161, and the estimated sunspot number was 132, with 7 numbered sunspot regions visible on Earth. Over the last week, the SFI has increased. Solar activity has been in high levels recently, with the geomagnetic field at quiet levels and the KP index reaching 2 yesterday. The solar wind peaked at 498 kilometers per second. Solar activity is predicted to be moderate, with geomagnetic activity at unsettled to minor storm levels today, quiet to active levels on Saturday and Sunday. The chance of solar radiation storms at the S1 or greater level is low, at 10% through Saturday and 5% Sunday. R1 to R2 radio blackouts are likely in the near term, with a predicted probability of 60% through Saturday and at 40% on Sunday. R3 or greater blackouts are possible, with a 15% chance predicted today through Saturday and 5% on Sunday. There's a chance of 6-meter propagation, so keep an eye on the band and spotting clusters to be ready for the next time the magic band does its thing. It remains a fantastic time for amateurs of all classes to get on the air and work the world. Good sources of real-time solar information include spaceweatherlive.com and solarham.com. A good overview of conditions can be found at dx.qsl.net/propagation. You can see D-layer absorption data and associated radio blackout information at the NOAA DRAP page. And to see real-time maximum usable frequency, or MUF, and critical frequency, or FOF2 information from radiosonde data, check out prop.kc2g.com. And now let's check out some upcoming contests. On the contest calendar this weekend, we will see the JARTS Worldwide RIDI Contest, the 1010 International Fall Contest on CW, the New York QSO Party and the Illinois QSO Party, also the Worked All Germany Contest, the Stu Perry Top Band Challenge, the Feldhell Sprint, the Argentina National 7 MHz Contest, the Asia Pacific Fall Sprint on CW, the UBA ON Contest on 2 meters, the YLRL DX/NA YL Anniversary Contest, and the Run for the Bacon QRP Contest. As always, the K1USN SSTs, the MSTs, and the CWTs will also be on the air. The full contest calendar with events and exchanges can be found at contestcalendar.com. And now let's wrap things up with some interesting online radio content. Dr. Tamitha Skov, WX6SWW, discusses recent solar conditions and her forecast. Mike, KNMRD, shows us some ambulance conversions for amateur radio and camping. Nanofix takes a look at an inexpensive thermal camera for electronics work. Mike KNMRD shows us the launch of a Pico balloon. Matt M0DQW takes a look at the new Senhai XHT with HF reception on board. Josh KI6NAZ takes a look at the new Baofeng UV5R Mini. Doug Bode, KD7DUG, takes us along as he participates in the SKCC Weekend Sprintathon. Nanofix shows his methodology for diagnosing faults for electronic repair. Kevin, KB9RLW, shows us how to use 3D modeling to make a fan grill for the spooky season. Patrick, F2DX, shows us the amazing logistics and beautiful scenery behind the FP5KE DXpedition to St. Pierre and Miquelon. This one is definitely worth the watch. It makes me wish I was out there with him. It looks like a great time. Mike KMRD shows us a 10-meter Yagi on a pneumatic mast. Mike M0MSN shows us the Redavis Alliance H1 DMR HT. Tim and 7KOM paints his Navy flameproof key for a whole new look. Josh KI6NAZ discusses whether the IC705 is still worth it 5 years in. Steve KM9G makes a Raspberry Pi weather station with an e-ink display. Kevin W1DED talks to Tim K3LR about his legendary contest station and multi operations. Walt K4OGO makes a telescopic vertical antenna with a reflector and gets it on the air. Matt M0DQW tests out the Antrunner satellite tracker azimuth elevation rotator. Kurt ON7OFF shows us what's new in the latest version of Thetis SDR software for the Hermes Lite 2. Column M0XXT gets his new 4-square setup ready for testing. Sean, W9FFF, builds a spool-fed Rybakov antenna. Mike, KMRD, does a Podorov in the Puget Sound. Matt, M0DQW, takes a look at the Porta RF Hack RF radio. And Practical Engineering shows the engineering behind the bases of large antenna towers. This one is pretty interesting. Well, that is it for this week. I've been Ed, November 2 Echo Charlie. Thanks, as always, for joining us. We hope you have a great week ahead. Best 73, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week.